Hi everyone, it's Becky here. Welcome to another new video on my YouTube channel. So after lunch on our first day on Vancouver Island, we checked in at our Airbnb around downtown Nanaimo, and Dudu is exploring everything in this room. Everything looks so clean and organized here. Dudu is going into my bedroom. Hey Dudu, that's my big bed right here, nice and clean. Hi everyone. So after resting a little bit, we are driving to Nanaimo Harbor. It's early in the evening now, and we want to spend some time walking around this peaceful walkway along the seawall before going back for dinner. So here is the sea airplane that can take you back to Vancouver in just 15 minutes. All right, bye airplane. Alright, so now I'm going to do a quick sketch of this view of the harbor in front of me, putting my sketchbook on the railing of the walkway. I'm just starting with the contour outline of the sea airplane there in the back, and this one is very foreshortened. Just really trusting what I see because the shape right now is coming out a little bit strange because of the angle I'm looking at these. Drawing the second wing of that airplane and finishing the belly area of the airplane behind. The wing extremely foreshortened there on top. Adding a bit of accentuation underneath the wing with thicker line. And then adding these tiny little windows and the logo of the Sea Airplane Company. Now this line is very important to suggest a sense of depth. This is the gangway walking to the sea airplane. Now, I'm seeing some seagulls flying by, and I really want to draw them. Now, just adding the thickness area of this texture, the metallic texture of the gangway. And drawing the triangular rooftop shape of this little storage room, and this metallic stump over here in the foreground. Shaded a little bit because it's in the foreground, it should look a little heavier. And drawing these brackets, another metallic stuff underneath. The marina details, yeah, that slab of 3D shape is pretty interesting. And then finishing off this little birdhouse shape of the storage house. The rooftop is kind of like a stretched diamond and the two sides of the house body shape. Adding a bit of accentuation underneath the little roof. And just drawing the sign on there. Finishing off the contour outline of the gangway to establish its three-dimensionality, giving it a bit of thickness by drawing an extra parallel line underneath each way. And now I am starting to draw the boats in the distance, aligning on the bottom of the island. So yeah, so this drawing process is in real-time speed. I did cut some parts off just so to not make this watching experience too tedious. Okay, so just focusing on the simple shapes of these boats, and then a very quick and confident vertical line to suggest the mast of the boats. So each boat, the height of the mast is different from one another because they're laying in slightly different horizontal lines, and also they are of different sizes. And drawing this straight horizontal line to establish the bottom of the island there in the slight distance. And then drawing some more little boats floating around. Yeah, so these are really nice little things to hold the viewer's attention. And now drawing the contour outline of the foliage of the little island there in the middle ground. And I am continually being aware of where the horizon line is and doing that in between the two pages, connecting the two pages together, and then that island or mountain in the far distance. Now, drawing the contour outline of the other island here on the left-hand side. Another seagull flying by, and another one. So yeah, I love drawing seagulls to really suggest that this is a marina. And then more boats. So the boats are not absolutely aligning on the horizontal line. They are a little bit lower down from the horizon line of these islands. And then some more, I'm drawing from right to left. And this is kind of a fun experience, barely looking at the paper and just trying to move following just what I see in front of me. Okay, some more boats and those confident vertical lines for the mast. This is another little bridge to a ramp, focusing on the arc shape of the bridge and then the pattern inside it. And this is a long ramp, adding a bit of accentuation on the bottom to give it a bit weight. And then people walking and waiting on here for their crabs. Yeah, so this ramp is where a lot of people are catching crabs. Just adding some more people. They're looking tiny, like ants. They're in the far distance. And some more, making them into couples. And now I am starting to use these loose and bumpy lines, super organic, and using a pretty gentle hand pressure to draw the foliage texture. So there's so many overlappings with these trees here on these islands here in the middle ground. And same for the island here on the right hand side. Some trees, they look more like cones. Other trees, they look more like spheres. So just following what I see and getting these shapes in. The shapes that we see in nature, sometimes it could be a little bit different or strange than we anticipated. And this is very much it of the drawing process. And yeah, the beautiful view around me as the day is closing. So while I was drawing this, a lot of people passed by and trying to get close to see what I was doing. But then they were really, really polite. They see that I'm filming and doing something a little serious. But one man actually came over and said something really nice. From my experience of over 10 years sketching out there, I have not received any negative comments from people passing by. So just calm down and just do it. Alright, so now I'm ready to paint watercolors. As always, I want to begin with the sky area. Just wetting this whole area with clear water first, just so it's much easier for the colors to blend together softly. Beginning with the warm colors, this is a mix of lemon yellow and a tiny bit of orange, following my observation of the color band that I see around the bottom of the sky, and then some stronger orange. So the pre-wetted surface is diluting this color even more into a subdued tone. Because the sunset sky, the colors are not always super saturated as you see in traditional sunset paintings. So in this case, the colors that I see are very, very mild and subdued. So here I am not exaggerating the color saturation too much. Truly following what I see and be honest. And just adding a bit of diluted cerulean blue for the top part of the sky using horizontal brush marks. Working from the top part of the paper to a little lower. Letting the blue to blend with the yellow a little bit to form a really soft turquoise. So sometimes the sketchbook paper is not working perfectly. There's a bit of a waxy feel. So here I'm actually mixing a little bit more. So the blue and the green is more even here for the top half of the sky. Adding some retouches of red orange and red magenta for the lower part of the sky as I see these emerging and more saturated colors. So the sunset sky is evolving very much every minute. So I'm just trying to capture more than just one fixed moment taken by a camera. So compared to working from a fixed image taken by a camera, I'm truly having a human experience observing the evolution of colors every minute. And now I just wetted the water area with clear water and doing wet onto wet. These soothing colors of blues and turquoise by playing with cerulean blue and a little bit of hooker's green. So the first layer of water, it should always be a very transparent wash of blues, greens, and turquoise colors depending on the situation. And now just keep spreading this super diluted turquoise around the bottom of my page as well, blending on a little bit of lemon yellow as the reflective color from the sunset sky, as well as above the ramp over there, a thinner brushstroke, because reflections in the distance, pretty much like every physical things in the distance, they look thinner and smaller compared to the ones closer to us. And now just wetting the mountain in the distance with a little bit of leftover yellow. So I feel that the mountain is glowing with the reflective color of the sunset sky a little bit more than just blues and greens. And then wet onto wet, a bit of cerulean blue and a tiny bit of cobalt blue. And then going back to the same blue, but this time trying to mix in less water into it. As you can see, it's a different value of blue compared to that previous layer. I want to create a bit of a misty effect for the bottom of that mountain, for a more of a magical, enchanted feel, rather than just painting a solid blue. Okay, and just refine that top edge a little bit. It's okay to for the mountaintop to bloom a little bit over the contour outline and merge a little bit with the sunset color. It's more natural that way. And now I am grabbing even more cobalt blue mixed with cerulean blue and a tiny bit of green, because I see the edges of the islands and the mountains over there, they're having a bit of reflection on the very bottom edge, just like shadows. Alright, and just give that a very gentle rub around the bottom edge of this long brushstroke. And now I see the color of that distant mountain is fading away a little bit. I want the blue on top to look a little stronger. So now I'm adding a bit of retouch of a more concentrated cerulean blue and cobalt blue mix, just for the top part, just a little bit. And now I am gonna add another thicker stripe of reflective blues around the middle part of the water over here. A really vibrant blue. So again, this is a mix of cerulean and cobalt blue, leaving a transparent gap in between the shadow of the mountains over there to avoid overpainting. So when painting water, it's really, really important to not overpaint, to preserve certain areas white. In this case, the water is not really shimmering under the sun. It's sunset time, so we have a really transparent wash of blue, the brightest color or the tone of water. Alright, so now just adding a slight bit of more concentrated blue for the bottom part of this thick stripe of reflection of the sky, or maybe the mountain there in the distance. So if your brush stroke is a little bit harsh, just rub it gently with your cleaned water brush tip, and so it will merge very naturally with the previous dried layer. Okay, so just make sure your previous layer is very much dried before you're doing this darker value on top. Alright, so now I am adding a higher ratio of cobalt blue mixed with cerulean blue for this part, another thick stripe of reflective blue on the surface of water. Just lay it nice and bold along the bottom line of the ramp, and then using thinner brushstrokes for a bit of ripples, and then mixing some more blue, mostly containing cobalt blue, for a thicker lap of water here closer to the foreground. And I was talking to somebody passing by, and by accident I shifted my sketchbook lower, and so the bottom part of the sketch is cut off from the video, so sorry about that. I'll show you the final result a little later at the end of the video. So now I am adding the first layer, the glaze of the sunset color, which is a mix of orange and lemon yellow, diluted a little bit for the first layer of the islands there in the middle ground. And now for the top part of these islands, I am blending on a more concentrated Hocker's green, mix it with a little bit of yellow ochre, Yeah, so the top part of these islands are kind of in shade. And this green is also reacting with the yellow-orange below it, sort of blending together in a nice and subtle way. And so the green is actually a little bit semi-transparent, not a solid green. And for the bottom of these two islands, I am painting very thin brushstrokes of more concentrated yellow-orange, because that piece of land is really flat. Evening sunshine is shining directly on them. And then adding some more Hooker's green, mix it a little bit with yellow ochre for the top part. So I want that top part of the islands to look more solid green. And then gradually adding on some yellow orange, mix it with the leftover Hooker's green. So just playing with the yellows and the Hooker's green. Yeah, it's getting more and more orangey. On these foliage forms, the sun is getting lower and lower toward the horizon. But the top part of these islands is always a much more concentrated green. All right, and put some quick punches of orange yellow on. And now I'm adding some shade color of green by mixing burnt sienna into Hooker's green for certain areas on the top part of these islands. The contrast is pretty high. And now I am layering a more diluted Hooker's green onto the yellow-orange. As I mentioned before, the moist or the wet paint below is reacting and changing the value of the wet paint you're adding on top. So yep, the green is looking so interesting than just putting on white paper. And a little bit rendering of yellow-orange for the bottom of the island is glowing with a really strong orange value. And I just quickly painted those people and the walkway with yellow-orange as well, a diluted yellow-orange for those white airplanes. So everything under the sunset sky, they are glazed with a yellow-orange, sometimes a pink tone, a really beautiful tint. And after that, I'm just putting some more concentrated cerulean blue for the tail and the wings of these two airplanes. Adding some final rendering along the bottom lines of the islands there in the middle ground. And here is a look of my finished sketch. As you can see, for the bottom part of the sea, I used cobalt blue, mix in a little bit of royal purple, and curving brushstrokes to paint those beautiful curves of ripples in the foreground. So water in the foreground, we can see more movement and turbulence. As you can see, I had to sit down to paint this because it's very much impossible to balance my watercolor palette on that railing. And I had to stand close to the railing to see the details better without obstruction of those metallic bars. And so thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for exciting updates. So I'm filming a lot of travel sketching videos and vlogs over the past months. And I'm taking my time to edit these videos. So get ready to see another video pop up every 2 to 3 days. Here's Dudu waiting for us at the Airbnb. I think he's doing very well. He really likes this Airbnb. So my next video is going to be about me sketching this beautiful exterior of the Vault Cafe in downtown Nanaimo. See you very soon again in a couple of days. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye.